Welcome to this video on how to use InContour's incremental learning feature. In this video, we will go over what incremental learning is and how to access and run this feature. The incremental learning feature allows users to train segmentation models using their own data and settings. To access incremental learning, select Advanced from the InContour main page, and then select Incremental Learning. Incremental provides built-in models for 5 anatomical regions that were trained using a library of expert contoured cases. With incremental learning, these models can be fine-tuned to your clinic's specific needs. Neither Incremental nor Corina Medical perform any actions to validate the accuracy and performance of these newly trained models, and as such, this is a research-only feature. When accessing the incremental learning page, you should see 2 sections on the landing page. The first section, Existing Models, this is where you can find the information on all the models you have trained. There are a few columns within this section. The first column is the Name column. When training a new model, the name of the model must be unique to the anatomical region on which it has been trained. Meaning, if there is a model named AB1 for the abdomen region, then another model with the name AB1 cannot be used for the abdomen region. This name, however, could be used for the male pelvis, as an example. The next column is Anatomical Region, which lets you know for what anatomical region that model was trained. Next, we have ROIs. This lets us know what ROIs were retrained for that model. For example, AB1 has only the left kidney retrained, but the test _NAN has many more ROIs retrained. You can select and retrain as many ROIs as you wish with the data selected for retraining. The Iterations column indicates how many epochs were chosen for model training. Epoch and iterations are used interchangeably. This is a setting that is chosen when setting up a new training model process. If less than 20 epochs have completed, then modifications to the model structure are possible. This means that if you wish to select new data and ROIs for model training, then those will be used instead of the ones previously selected. This is equivalent to deleting the model and starting over, or starting from scratch. If 20 or more epochs have completed, we will not be able to make any modifications to the model structure. For consistent performance, the model will use the previously uploaded data and selected ROIs and ignore any newly selected ROIs for retraining. This means that once the training process reaches 20 epochs or more, the data selected under the training model section is the data that will be used for the new model. The Finished column lets you know if the model training has completed. No represents it has not completed, and yes represents it has completed. The Approved column indicates if the trained model was approved by the proper authority in your institution or clinic. No means it has not been approved, and yes means it has been approved. The final column is the Actions column. There are 3 icons. The clock icon will start the incremental learning process for a model that has not yet finished, meaning if a model in this section has no under the Finished column, you can continue with the incremental learning process for that model. The down arrow will allow you to export the model. Only the model will be exported. The data used for training will not be exported. The trash can icon will delete the selected model. At the very end, on the right-hand side, there are 2 final icons: the refresh and the upload icons. The refresh icon will refresh the existing model section and add any new models that have been added to the system. The final icon is import. This allows you to import models into Incontour's incremental learning feature. This model must be one that has been exported from Incontour. No other type of model can be imported using this function, including but not limited to TPS models, CT models, third-party segmentation models, etc. It can, however, come from other institutions' instance of Incontour. The next section on the incremental learning page is the Train New Model section. In this section, you will be able to select the settings and the data to be used for training a new model. There are 5 steps in this process. Step 1. Enter a new model name. This is where you can assign the name of the model. As mentioned previously, it must be a unique name for the anatomical region. Additionally, the name cannot have any blank spaces. This includes at the beginning and the end of the name. Underscores and hyphens are accepted, as are any characters accepted by your operating system's folder naming convention. Once a name has been entered, move on to Step 2. Step 2. Select imaging series and corresponding segmentations you want to train. In this section, you can select the imaging series and the corresponding segmentations you want to use for model training. Imaging series must have been imported to Incontour and have segmentation performed by Incontour. If the series has multiple segmentations, you will be able to select which one you want to use for model training in the last column, Segmentations. Select the appropriate segmentation from the drop-down menu for each series. You're also able to filter by the patient name or ID using the filter option above. To select the series, select the checkbox on the far right of the corresponding row. Select all the patients of the series you wish to use for model training. Once completed, move on to Step 3. Step 3. Select an anatomical region to segment. In this step, you select the anatomical region that you want to use for segmentation training. In this case, I am using the head and neck. Once the anatomical region is selected, move on to Step 4. Step 4. Select existing ROIs to be retrained and provide new ROI names. In this step, you can select existing ROIs from the anatomical region from Step 3 or create new ROIs for retraining. You can select Load Refresh ROI names to load the segmented structure names from the imaging series selected in Step 2. The names are unified to ignore case and remove spaces, underscores, and hyphens. For example, if you have the name small together bowel, small space bowel, small underscore bowel, or small hyphen bowel, it will show up as small bowel, all capitalized. From existing ROIs tab, you can associate multiple naming conventions to an existing ROI. To add multiple names to one ROI standard name, add them in the additional names. You can separate each additional name by pressing Enter or adding a comma. You can have as many additional names for a standard name as you wish. If you wish to select one of the existing ROIs for retraining, select the checkbox on the right-hand side. This will select the structure for retraining. To undo this, select the check mark again, and this will clear the selection. To add your own ROI for training, select New ROIs tab. Select Add ROI to add a new row. In the standard name, type in the standard name you want the ROI to have in the model. Type in all additional names associated to that structure. You can use the Load Refresh ROI names to make it easier to identify what naming convention you have used previously for the same structure. If you wish to remove an ROI added under ROIs, select the minus icon at the very far right. This will remove the added ROI. Once all ROIs have been selected and/or added, move on to step 5. Step 5. Customize model settings. This is an optional setting where you can change the number of iterations performed for a new model. The default value is 1000. At the bottom, we have two other functions: reset settings and verify settings. Reset settings will allow you to start the entire process of setting up a new model to train from scratch. When selecting the reset settings option, a window will appear allowing you to select cancel or reset settings. If you select cancel, the settings will not be reset. Verify settings will run through all the settings assigned for the new model to ensure that all settings are valid. If there are any issues with the patient data selected or the ROIs selected for retraining, the system will provide a warning indicating which patients have issues. There are no errors if the following message is shown: current task status, settings checked, no errors found. Once you see no errors have been found, the Run Incremental Learning option will appear. This will allow you to start to train a new model. When ready to start training a new model, select Run Incremental Learning. A third section will appear at the bottom of the Incremental Learning page. There is a log section on the left-hand side and two graphs on the right-hand side. The log will start to populate with two rows: starting incremental learning, followed by step 1, pre-processing data. The two graphs are mean training loss and mean training dice. These two graphs provide information on how the training process is going. The mean training loss graph will start off with values higher than 1, but as more iterations are performed, this value will start to decrease. The lower the value, the smaller the training loss, which is an indication that the model process is performing well. If you notice that the mean training loss graph has reached a plateau, it is appropriate to stop the training model process. The second graph, the mean training dice, provides information on how well the model training is going. Initially, the dice value will be 0. But as more iterations are performed, this value will climb. If you notice that the mean training dice has reached a plateau, it is appropriate to stop the model training process. At the top, we have two icons: refresh and stop. Refresh allows you to refresh what is happening with the logs for the new model. Stop allows you to stop the model process. When selecting stop, the model process will clear the progress performed by incremental learning, meaning it will start again from step 1, pre-processing data, within the logs view. We spoke about running iterations and how after 20 epochs, you are no longer able to make modifications to your settings. You can select edit settings at any point before 20 epochs to make changes to your model settings. To do this, select Edit Settings, and this will enable you to go back under Train New Model to add and modify ROIs or select new data from Step 2. Once 20 epochs have elapsed, any changes made to the settings will not be used. If you wish to stop the model training process, you can always select Stop. If you make any modifications to the ROIs or data before 20 epochs, select Verify Settings again to make sure that all the settings are correct. If you wish to restart the model training process using the same data and information set up in the initial settings configuration, select Run Incremental Learning if you have pressed Stop. This will continue running the process of training a new model. Once InContour starts the incremental learning process, it is recommended to watch the log until you see epoch 1. This is an indication that all data are processing correctly and the retraining process has not encountered an error. The retraining model takes about 40 hours to complete. Thank you, and please contact Karina Medical should you have any questions about incremental learning, InContour, or any other Karina Medical product.